So, hi everybody and welcome back to the C++ tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 180 and in this video I solved the exercise which I announced in the last video. What was the exercise again? Let's have a fast look. It was this person who is walking here on the sidewalk. He wants to cross the street. First he checks if the street has cars or not. If it has cars, then he is using the traffic light. He's pushing this traffic light button, waits that the traffic light turns to green, and then he is crossing here the street. And I said, of course, you can simulate this one in with our coding, but you can simulate it without classes as well, and that you should not do because you could use just functions, but we want trained classes, so I said you should use classes as well. And yeah, and then I give you a tip. You can make here, for example, a person class, and then use this person class and start here in the main, for example, your simulation. So you create a person, then you call the next step what he's doing and so on. But this is only one way. There are so many other creative ways, so use that what you think it's best for you. Perhaps you have a much better idea than me, then use it. The important part here is that, just that we train classes, repeat keywords and learn how to use them. Alright, with that said, that was the short exercise which I introduced you in the last video, and it's time now to give you a short demonstration what I did so far, and I will start from scratch here, but I want just show you the start what I programmed so far. In my case, when I start this program, I will ask first your name, and this your name is I have put in a class, so I say, okay, I am the coder. And then it says here, coder is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. And this is the simulation, right? The person here, in my case, the coder, is now walking on the sidewalk. This is the sidewalk, and decided to cross the street. And let's see what's the next point. Here it comes then again, this dots here, or this dashes here, or whatever this is. This kind of thing is simulating a graphical box or something like that, and we have not learned to import graphical pictures where we could put this one in to make it beauty, but I think that's also okay because we are learning right now classes. So but just think about it, it's just like a visual novel or a book or a movie, and then you see these boxes, they are saying what you want to do, and then it takes part the action, right? So here is again, this was the first box, it was asking your name. Now the second box, after coder is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. So after he decided to cross the street, there comes the next box, and then you can set up the next action. So it says here, are there many cars on the street? And then you can type, for example, yes, for Y for yes, and then when you enter, and then you can see coder see many cars on the street, so he decided to use the traffic light, and that was just the start. You can see that would be the next action what I said. So you said yes, there is many cars, so he decided to use the traffic light, and that's the next step what I have to do, but not in this video because this is just the starting point. And of course this is just a demonstration how you can make this, and I decided to make it like you can see it like a visual novel, or what is it called, so that you can use this in games, in books, in films, movies, where they all ask and take part the actions. That's cool, but you don't have to use this one. Make it in your own creative way. Important, like I said, is that you just use classes and try to simulate this this real world this one here, because I think everybody of you crossed the street, like, right? And we know that how this works, at least I think so, and that's why I think it's nice that we simulate this one now on the PC. So let's get started. First thing what I do is I just create here a new CPP file, but because we learned already we can just create a new CPP file. What we have to do is just go here to the source file, right click on it, add, and here is a new item, add new item. And here is also class, but don't use this class here at start, because when you click class here, it is creating a header file and a CPP file. We have not talked about header file and CPP file. If you know it already, you can use it, but I use just a CPP file in this case because I want just use a new CPP file. So I start from scratch because I already have here coded something. So you select the CPP file, then you go down here to the name it. I already did this, and then I have this one here, this new CPP file. Now I did this only to start from scratch, and I watch here a little bit when I get lost. So with that said, I copy just this one here because I think you know already what this is. This is our include files. We have not talked about include, but we know now what this is. These are just other classes or namespace or whatever, and they are needed. So, and the next thing is what I need here is also this main here. Perhaps I copy this one as well, because we need all time on main. And if you copy a main, this one comes later. If you copy a main and have now two mains, that's not allowed. So you have to comment one out, because a program has only one main file, which means the compiler has only one start point. So we make sure that I have only one start point, and this is this file here now. All right, this is the setup for the start point, and now we can start. So what I do next is very simple. You can make a pseudo plan, a plan, but actually this picture is also a plan. I have here a class, a person, and the first thing what I do is make the person. But of course you can make now here about the plan, step-by-step plan. For example, you make a person plan and then all the tasks what you want for the person to do and so on. I skip this part because I think it's possible else. I won't make it not too complicated and too long, this video. So, but in your case, just do what you think it's right for you. Just try it. So in my case, I just create a class person because I see the person there. I need it, class person. And then that's it. That's our class person already. So here, this person is this person. All right, now I have to use it a little bit, right? And we know there is so much in it, but I will only put in this class person what I need. So I don't start to put anything in it at start. What I do is I go down to the simulation part, which is here, my main. There are the sequence, and then I create first object, or in my case just a variable. And how we create a person variable with the class here, we learned this is just a normal person is our type, and I need now just a normal variable name. Let's call this person to use person use. Person in simulation. I think that's good. So the point here, when I make this, I'm finished. I created here a person in simulation, and this is my type, and this person is not in a namespace, so I don't need here any resolution operator. That's also nice. But let's talk about it, because we repeat also a little bit. And is this working right now, what I'm doing? Because we learned something like constructors and so on. Do you think it's working? The best way is just to test it. But careful, sometimes you test it, it still compiles and still not works. Here it works. So why? The question is, why is this working? Do you remember this? All right, I hope you do remember, because it is working. There is a so-called compiler created constructor. Yes, so what was this constructor again? The constructor is when you try to create your own class, the compiler provides you behind the scene a constructor if you have not provided a constructor. In my case, you can see I have not provided a constructor. That's why when I try to create this variable here, the compiler will provide here a constructor, because without a constructor it's not allowed. And important to know is this constructor you can't see, but it is provided. You have to know it. But yeah, that's good. let's go a step further. Okay, I have now this person in simulation. This is this person here in simulation. So now I want to do something with this person in simulation, right? So I want now that this person is walking on the sidewalk. So how I do this? There are different ways to do this, but I choose a very, very cheap solution. I just describe the situation. So this is the more description. So what I made is here, I just made an output. I said, okay, person name. Oh, we have, of course, this comes later. But I said is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. All right, so let me copy this out. So what I did is really literally just say, okay, this person, I want print out. I want just, oh, F today. And this one we don't have right now. Let's kick this out. And let's kick this else out. So I want just say, at start, I want just say, okay, I have created this person. This person class has nothing, okay, because I don't know what I need, but I know I need this one here. And what is this one? Is walking, of course. Here I have a missing information, but normally I would say this person here, this person in simulation, is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. All right, I have to find this person in simulation. Let's write here just for fun, a person. Let's write here a person. A person. All right, I make now the first attempt. So I have a person, and this person is just walking on the street, and I just describe this as a text. And when I start this one here, and let's see, and we can read it. We can read a person is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. So the point here, or the problem here is this one is a person. So we don't know who or where, who is that. Perhaps we want to make specify it. And that's why I have created this person class. Now we want to give this person a little bit more personalities, which means we give them names perhaps and all the things what you need. And yeah, a name is good, right? So I said, okay, we can make a name. Let me see how I did this fast. So here I said, okay, let's give him a name. The person should have a name. All right, let's make this std. How we make this? We just create a name variable. We know a name variable is most time a string, so we know the type as well. And I use std string. This is my type. And one more thing, what may you call it? Name. We can call it name. And I can give it a default value if you want, like old time. Not set. I will call it not set, so I know this one is not set. So the person class has now the first variable. And now again a question: what we learned about a class when we have not an access specifier, or what is again an access specifier? An access specifier is what every class has, and a class, for example, has by default. If you don't specify an access specifier of the variable or the function, by default, this variable here, which we created, is private. And what does this mean? Private means if I try now to access this variable name here, name, with this created person here, let's call it person simulation, I won't try to access this one. And how we access this one again? We use the variable, and what we use then? A dot if it's what? If it's a normal variable, if it's not a pointer or something like that. But here I use this dot here, right? This is the access specifier, and it pops nothing up. Normally it would pop up now what we can access. And why it's not popping up? The reason is here we have not specified an access specifier, and by default the class is private. And private, you have no access outside. You can see that's why I have not it. So I need it. I need the string name here anywhere. So what I can do is, okay, we have to change this one here. let's change it. And how we make it? Okay, I want that it's public. Save it. And now let's do the same thing here again. Dot, and you can see now it's public and this dot can access it. Now again, we have access to it. And now I have access to it. But the problem is now I just call it. I don't use it. And it is anyway not set. It has here only a default value. But my goal is that anyone can enter her or his name, and then the name should be used here, right? That's my goal. So how we can do this? But before we can do this, perhaps we should integrate this person's name now to my simulation. It's also possible. So we can say instead of a person, because I have here now this person simulation name here, right? And now I integrate it just to this one. And how I do this, I just take this one. I just take this one here. You don't need this. This is just a call there. I call it here too, but I call it here directly here. And important is here, when you call it here, this person in simulation name must be a string, because the string works with this overloaded operator. We have not talked too much about this one, but this operator stdc out and this here, this is the operator, this which is overloaded. This works not with, it works also with others, but can make problems. So make here sure it is a string. So, and I know this is a string and I can print out a string, or we have to use other there are other ways to print out text and so, but in this case we have not talked about this one. You can use this one. So here I take now persons in simulation. Okay, we created here the variable. I take now the public variable, it's public, and print it out, and I can use it. And then I don't need this a person, because I can now get rid of this a person, because now I have the person's name. Almost, let's say so, almost the person's name. And now you can see when I save that, start that, and we see now, too bad it's not sad, it's walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. And let's make here perhaps a little bit new lines, because yeah, it's a little bit style, right? Let's make here a little bit style. Let's make here simple new lines. It's not absolute. And this style thing I will not do all time here on this video, because that takes too much time just to style. It's cool, but it's not the thing what we are learning here. Okay, but a little bit style is okay. Okay, here not set is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. So I have a problem now. I need set this name, right? So I have to ask the in the simulation, the program user to input a name, right? So how we can do this, there are different ways, of course, and I decided to use a function for that. Let me see if this is true. Person name assignment, yes, and I called this person assignment. I copied just this one here. Yes. All right, so I decided to a function, but you can see our little class here becomes bigger and bigger. So let's make here, let's write here, perhaps to make it easy, here on top, variables, and that's most time starter do, and I think it's still good because it's very visible what we want. On top I want variables, then I want here functions. And here I want add my function now. And of course, careful, when we add a function, you can use again a separate specifier. You can add, access specifier, how many you want. In my case, I don't know if I need it public or private. So just let's create it and then see what we need. All right, so I assign it. So I create a function with a return type string. I don't know if I really need a string and a return type, but we will see it later. And then I create a function name, person name assigning, which means we want to assign here this name, right? And this is a function. And when I make it this far, it's called a declaration. And the point is, wait a minute, why I would stop here? Normally, I could go on here and make the definition inside a class, but we learned that we can do a definition outside of a class too, and in future when we have header files and CPP files, most time of these definitions are outside of the class. But this for the future. And I want to show you that we can this one outside of a class too in a very fast. So how I define this one outside of a class? What was the way again? The way was we use the person, the type, because we need now the resolution operator. What is the resolution operator again, by the way? The resolution operator is the thing what says I will find for you what you are asking me. So I say, okay, you should find this one, and then I say, okay, where's the resolution operator? Here. And then I say this one here, this one is in person, because right now you are not finding it, but don't worry, go to person. Okay, the resolution operator says, okay, I'm in person. I jump in, and then I have this resolution and this person name assignment. And then I say, I define just the function. So, and then I have a problem. It says here something like, yes, of course, there is one more thing missing. What is missing? What mistake I did here when I copied it? Of course, look this. It is a return type. Don't forget the return type if you set a return type. Where I set the return type, here at start, std string. This is the return type. Now I have my return type. This is this one. Now I have my person to say where he can find this function here. Go in person, which is here. Use a resolution operator. It will find this one and check if this one is indeed in this person. Yes, it is. And then you can do this here. So this is one way to do it, but I don't want it to do here. We will do this in future with CPP files and header files, but right now I want not, because it's easier to see when I have it here. And I make the easy solution right now, which is just do it here. So, all right, now I have this person name assigning, and what I do is now, before I can assign it, I have to ask the PC user or the user to type in a name, right? And we learned this, how we can ask people to assign it, and that's why I don't make this too long, because we did this in our last exercise and I don't want actually this graphical part. So what I'm doing is just I copy this part here and explain it to you, because that's we already did this so many times. And yeah, so what I do is here, this one is just for graphical purpose that I have a dash line here. I print just this this line here out. The next line is, now I ask the user, the PC user, or here in this case, what is your name? And then I give him info what he should do. So type your name, right? And then after this point here, he should type his name. So it still say out, very asking. And this line we talked also a little bit, right? We learned cin, we learned this std cin, but we learned in one of my tutorials, there's std cin. Let me show you this one. Normally you could use something like this too, right? Cin, and then you can use that one, and then of course anyhow other to save it there. But the problem with this std cin was it is just taking one word, and if you type, I think one more word, it is over. It is saving it in the cache, and then it can cause problems. We have talked a little bit about this one, and you have to be careful. And that's why I said then there is a better solution, and the better solution is this get line. What was this get line again? Is it just again here in std? What is our std, by the way? Std is our standard library. It is a namespace. You can see this namespace symbol when I hover over it. In my examples, I have made this big, what was it, house namespace. This is just a namespace standard library. And in standard library, there is this function. I hover my mouse over it, and you can see here. And we should start to understand this a little bit, but this one is again a a little bit complicated, but I think we can understand it. Can you understand this line a little bit? Not all of it, but there are things we have not talked, this ancient brackets here, but let's see what we understand it. So we have here something like yesterday I streamed. This is what? It is a return type. All right, and what is this ampersand? It is a reference. Okay, this return type is referenced. What we have here, std getLine, is the actual function where you'd find. So getLine you can find in std. The whole part here in front is the return type. All right, that's okay. And what we have here, and let's skip this because here we have again this angel brackets, which we have not talked yet. That's why I skipped this part. But in future, you should try to understand this line. So when you hover your mouse over it, we will understand this more and more. It's very important. That's the reason why I mentioned this here in a short. All right, with that said, I hope very important, one more important thing here. When you don't understand this, what you can do is all time you hover your mouse over it, right click it, and then in future we will do this, but here you can go to peak definition. Peak definition means it opens up where this getLine is defined. The problem here is to understand this one is not possible for us because we have not talked about templates and there are other things, like I said, this angel brackets and all this kind of stuff we have not talked. And sometimes it is not even necessarily that you have to peek the definitions. For example, if you find something like that, you can just go to the web and ask getLine how to use getLine, and they will show you. You need just type in std in, and you need a string, which you have defined before. So what I want to point out is sometimes it's easy just to go here in and read how to define it. But that takes a little bit more time because you have to analyze all the steps, like I said here. When I go here in peak definition, and now you can see there are some here other classes which you have to check out and then see what is doing this, what is doing that, and what is doing that. Instead, you can go, like I said, on the web, ask how to use this function here, and then there will be anywhere a short answer. Just use here say in and a name. This is only one use case, most time the common use case, and that's it. So I hope that's easy so far, and now let's see what this is. So I have now created what is that what I have created here? It is a function. It is called a member function. That's okay, but here is a problem. I have never called it. I have just created it. So where I have to call this now? So, all right, we have here a person. So I created here this person. Here person in simulation name. So I have to call it before this text here, right? Because when I call this one will print it out. So I have to call it before this one because this one will use the name which I put here in. So we have found the call place, which means after this one I can call it. How we call a function, we use again the variable which we created, in my case this name here, person simulated, again the dot, and you can see because it's public I can call it again. Here, why it's public here, by the way, when you defined it one time, it counts till you defined another access specifier. So that's why this one is also public. But if you want to be sure, just write here public. So you know that this one is all public. So at a starter, you can make this. But at once, people will not do this probably. That's not so important. So important is now we should call this. So I call this. Here is the person name, and here I can, and here, by the way, the symbols you should learn too. It's easier. You can see if this is blue thing here, it's all time a variable, and this other one is a function. And when you hover your mouse over it here, the right side, you can see public specifier, and then return type and all the things what we learned here. This is in future easier that you read the tooltips, learn these tooltips to read. But right now they are a little bit too complicated in some cases because we have not talked all, but yeah, in the future you learn this, and it's no worry. So let's see, this this one here has actually no return type. I mean, no argument. Sorry, it has a return type because here I type in the name, but actually I don't need this return type. So this is absolute a waste. But perhaps I need it. Perhaps I need it. Perhaps not. We will see. So what I have to do here is now I made the person name assigning. There are no arguments. I just call it and we can test it. So let's see what happens. I start. Okay, that was what I showed you. This is this first line here. It's just for graphical decoration, and then it's asking what is your name, type your name. Okay, let's go here for coder, and then I say coder is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. Coder, so you see this word coder is included now here. That was the thing. And then I have to do again graphical things to make it beautiful. Let's see, 1 2 3. I hope it works now better. But I have another problem here. Oops, what's going on? I clicked not on it. That was it. See again, coder. Yes, it's a little bit better. And here 2 new lines. So this one, what is your name? You type it in. Coder is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street. So here I have a not here, I think here it is working, but on the next part something is not working, and the next thing would be, but before we go to the next part, let's watch what I achieved so far. So I type in the person's name and he's then walking across the street. That's so what I achieved, right? And here this one, and decided to cross the street. This one, so he's walking here and he's decided to cross the street. And now I asking him for 2 options. What options he got? So so he checks before he's crossing the street. He checks if there are many cars. If there are cars, he will decide to use the traffic light. If he sees no cars, so he will not go even to the traffic light. He will just cross here the street. So that's my simulation, that he avoids to use the traffic light when he sees no cars at all. Okay, that's perhaps not a very good thing to do, but in my simulation it is. So how we can do this? How we can do this is we make another function. So this part is finished. I need another function here where I check if I have here many cars or not, and then I will decide if I use this traffic light or not. So I'm still not at the traffic light. I try to check out if I want to use it. All right, that's so my plan. And for this purpose, I think I copy this one now because I will not waste too much time. And it's anyway more text than than thing. So what I really do is just create another function. But important is I create it inside the class again, because I want them have all together. So first of all, I create again a return type. This return type, if I don't need it, I change it later to void. But right now I keep it, and perhaps I need it. So then I call this one traffic check, because like I said, this person has decided to cross the street. Now I check the traffic. That's why I called it traffic check. Okay, then I started opening my function body. All right, and then I created std string input read. I don't know if I need this std input read, but we will see. So what is this std string input read? Is this just what? What is that here? It is a variable. Okay, it has a type string. Okay, it has a default value, nothing. Okay, but what is this one? This one is a local variable to this function here, which is a member function of this class. So that's also very important that you know local variables and what is not a local variable and so on. because you can see this is local. This one is not really local to this class, at least. It is local to the class, but not local to another function. And yeah, that's very important. We try in general, a general rule is you try to make all local what is possible and only try to make public that what you have to do to avoid name conflicts and other yes, side effects which can cause problems. If it's possible to make it local, make it. If not, make it just public. So just easy rule. Here, I don't know if I even need this one here. I just throw it in and created this variable. So here, the next line, I said, okay, here this person must check here now if there are cars or not. So I wrote a text. I said here, okay, again, are there many cars on the street? Question mark. Type, again, this is the information which I give the PC user what he should do. So type Y for yes and N for no. And then I use again the get line and say input read. And yeah, and interesting is you can see here is a different. Here this name is global. And here I have used it local, and I don't know if this is good. I don't know if I should just put this one as well here to the global public global space. I don't know. I throw it just in, but let's see. It works. If it works, I think not that I'm choosing it public. Like I said, you should try to make it local if it's possible to avoid problems. All right. We will see it in a moment when I compile it and test it. And then you can see all these other lines here really are just text and style. And then after this line here, the person will type yes or no. So, and depending on now what the PC user types, I have to take an action. If he says yes, for example, here, this person sees many cars, then he will decide to go to this traffic light and push the traffic light button so it can switch green. But like I said before, if he sees no cars at all, perhaps this empty street, then he's still walking to the sidewalk here, right? Then he says, okay, I don't go to the traffic light. There are no cars. I just switch here the road. There are no cars. I can switch it. So, and this I'm going to simulate like, all right, here you type first yes or no, and depend on this input of the user, which I'm saving here, input read, I will take action. If the user, and then we learned this if statements, right? That was, we talked a lot of if, else, if, and else, and all this kind. And here is a good candidate to use it. And then I said, if the user write a Y, which stands for yes, then I will do this, which is I return a text because my function here has a return type of string, and I say here I return it. I return this one here. Many cars on the street, so he decided to use the traffic lights. This is my return value. This is a string, and I need a string for here. I have it. Then if the user says no, N for no, then I say make this return type. No cars on the street, so he just crosses the street. And else, because there is a problem with my input, I have no checks. By the way, I have never checked the input here on top as well. In this exercise, I just ignored the checks. Normally, you would never ignore checks. What I mean with checks is the user can accidentally type anything else than name, strange symbols, which is not recognized here as an input, right? So this input here on top is expecting this name here is a string, and if you start to type in strange symbols, this causes an error. Normally you have to put something like this in a try check block, try catch block, and then catch all the wrong inputs or try to avoid this from the start anyhow. And all this kind of checks I will skip in this tutorial because we did this. Normally you should do this again, but this could blow up this exercise much because there are many checks here. But that's why I skipped this. But you should do it as a starter because in future projects there is no code without a check normally. This can cause problems if you don't check this. So with that said, let's continue so you know you have to check this. And I skip it only that it takes not so long. All right, so let's go on. So what I do here is, and the only thing what I have here as a check is, and this is not even a check, it's just a bad output, which says input error. This is not even a real check because if you put in something strange symbols, this one will not even put out. It will just could crash or something else. So definitely use a try catch block. What was this try catch block, by the way? Do you know it? What you can do is, I think you can select it. I will not do it here, but you can select this, or you can even select the whole function here. I don't know. And then go here to the snippet, go here surround with, and then you can here use this try, where is this? You can make it with a try catch block, select this, but I will not select, and then it will surround it with a try catch block, and then you can set up this try catch block, or you can make it manually. Think about a try catch block, this is very important, or you have not to use necessarily a try catch block, you can make your own checks with other ways, but the normal way is a try catch block most time. I think it's easy because it's here already set, and then you have just to set it properly up. But yeah, think about this, that's very important, and this part I skip. So in my case, you can write yes or no. Then if you write yes, this one comes out, and if no, this one comes out. I have here an error. I realized it later, and the error is let me show you first. Let's start this and see if this is working at all. Oh, I saved it, and look what happens. That is not the error. This is there are many cars. This is, I think I don't use that. This is just again a variable which I'm not using. This is not the error. We put it in. So an error, it's a semantic error, not a grammatically error. I think it's yeah, you will see it in a moment what I mean, an error. All right, let's start first. Let's start here. I write coda. Coda is one, but the next thing, oh, before the error comes, we have to call this function again. We created a function, traffic check, of course. I need to call it. So the next call step is where? The next call step is very easy after this one, right? Because this is the next simulation step after this one, so it's not too difficult. I call it, and how I call it, very easy. Again, I use my variable here, which is my object. I use again the dot, the access specifier, and you see it is public, so I have this access. Then I have to use this this round bracket, so it's the function call, and there are no arguments, and now that should work, right? Let's test it again. I write it here, coder, and now it's asking me, are there many cars on the street? And I have to type Y for yes and N for no. Let's try type Y, enter, and there is nothing out. All right. That means so far it is working. So far it is working. And there is a little bit more to it. Almost finished, but there was an error here. It's a little bit not so easy to find error, but there was an error. That was not even a grammatical error. What I give you a hint now when I start this in a moment again, when I change this one here. So the error, look this Not my look not on my sentence. It's probably grammatical wrong, this sentence and so, but important is look on my sentence here, which is probably wrong, but important is this one here. You see this one, this he. What is if my character is not a he? Well, what I mean with that is when I just start again, and now my name is not Coder, which is probably a he. What is if my name is Maggie? It's probably a she. And now I write yes. And now I have a problem. Why? The first problem is the text is not coming out. I just forget this. Oops. Oops. Traffic light, we write input read yes. Okay. Okay. I have to put this out in a call. All right, I'm too lazy again. That's why I copy this line here. Person name C. All right, I copy this line here. All right, this is not the arrow, but here, this one is just the called function here. But this function here, I have to put in a meaningful sentence again, right? And the meaningful sentence is actually, if I use this one, and now I have again this one here. I made this wrong. Whatever. Let's copy this one. Person name. Yeah, I put this one here. And this one. Put this one here. Okay, now it's okay. So what I did is just I have to print out an information again. First of all, I say the person in simulation's name, I call it C, is just a text, and then person in simulation traffic check will add this text here, one of them here at this point. So, and when I start this again, let's see how this looks. I write this time Maggie because I make it wrong. And now I say yes, and now you can see Maggie see many cars on the street. So he decided to use the traffic lights. All right. So the problem is this he, what I pointed out later. We have to include a gender, because if it's a he, then we have to use anyhow we have to change here the text and use he, and when it's a she, then we have here another return value with a she, right? So this one I will make again offline. It's not difficult. So we have to provide again asking for gender. We can make this here at the start perhaps. For example, in my case, what is your name? Then you type in your name. What is your gender? He and she, and then he or she, and then I can anyone can write here he or she, or then depends on he and she. We have now to choose then the appropriate text, because that's very important, and that's why you see in many games or in other places they are asking all the gender if you are he, because they want to address you correctly. And in my simulation here, I address it wrong, right? And I think I stop here. This is the part 1, so it's not too long. So this is the wrong thing, the wrong addressing. When you make it wrong, then this happens. And yeah, but yeah, you can see this is so the start point. So my person here, one more time fast with this picture here, so that we have here this both here side by side. What is your name? And when I ask this one, I'm asking this person here. Okay, this person's name, let's call it Coder, so it's at least the right addressing, Coder. And then this Coder here, we're asking now this person Coder. And now first, the next step is the simulation step, right? So Coder, I take this name here. Coder is walking on the sidewalk and decided to cross the street, and he wants to cross the street like I wanted, right? And then when he tried to cross the street, he thinks first, and then are there many cars on the street? And then you say yes or no, depends what you want. I say yes. And then coder C, and then again the simulation, coder see many cars on the street, so he decided to use the traffic lights. The next step in the next video, in my code, the coder is going to the traffic lights. He pushes the button because the traffic lights are red, and then he has to wait to green, and after it turns to green, he's crossing the street. That's the next part, and I probably will make there one more class about traffic lights. I don't know if I make now a street class and so on. So with that said, I stop here. If you have any questions or any complaints like old time, just write it in the comments, and I hope you make it better than me, because here are so many ways to create it in different way, more complex, more easy, but it's up to you. So don't worry, just try it. And with that said, see you in the next. Bye, good luck, and like old time, never give up.